4 wins in 6 Grand Prix for Oscar Piastri. The McLaren is dominant. Williams is outperforming Ferrari. I'm Rachel, and this is my race ramblings for the 2025 Miami Grand Prix. So starting off with my weekend rating, not the race rating, we're throwing in the sprint in this here. I give that weekend a 7 out of 10. Maybe this is like kind of low, but I feel like I was maybe being a bit too generous in the past with my other race ratings, giving things like 8s, so maybe they should have been 7s or 6s. So we're going with a 7. This was fun. Had better racing than IndyCar in Barber. Miami, it had better racing than IndyCar and Barber. Watch the IndyCar race rambling that will come out tomorrow because I have thoughts. Don't even have notes for that because I just have thoughts. There's a problem. Anyways, the sprint was fun. There was overtakes for the lead in both the Grand Prix and the sprint, which is something I have noted in my other general race ratings that it's something I'm missing. I want overtakes for the lead. We got that both times, so that is good. The sprint was fun. There was rain, teasing some things out, making things interesting. There was pit stops in a sprint race, which is not something we typically get, so that's fun. Even the Grand Prix was fun. The safety car kind of dulled out a lot of the pit stops, but somehow it was still exciting, which is rare. Well, it wasn't a safety car. The virtual safety car dulled out some of the pit stops, which is not the most fun, but it was still fun. Again, overtake for the lead, a real battle for the lead as opposed to just like a first corner overtake as it was in the sprint race. Again, no rain in the Grand Prix, which is it's kind of nice. Like usually when there's rain that you think is coming and then there isn't, you're kind of like, oh man, that would have been fun to shake it up. I didn't mind that the rain didn't come. Again, a good race weekend, and for Miami, this is fantastic. All throughout the weekend, all throughout the Grand Prix, sorry, Alex Jax was like, this has the most overtakes ever in Miami. I'm like, yeah, obviously. Why? I'm actually curious. That's kind of like a question I don't have an answer to. I guess it's just that like we're at the end of the regulations. Everybody knows what to do and we're sort of closing in now. But like, why was this so exciting? It's not like there was anybody specifically out of place that was like overtaking everything. But I do feel like this season has had better racing than even last season, and I'm just like, I wonder why. And not to say that F1 is like fantastic. I mean, I think it is, but there's probably been times when there's been more racing. And at a time where I feel like a lot of other series, I can name IndyCar specifically, is kind of struggling with overtaking. Like, why is F1 so good this season? Because you could say it's because they're all close. I don't know if that's true. The McLaren's won by 30 seconds today. I don't know if it's close that all, like true that all the cars are close together performance-wise. I don't know. Comment if you have an answer for that. I'd like to know. Anyways, moving on to sprint qualifications here. I'm going to move through this kind of quick and all of the racing kind of quickly because I think there's bigger stories to tell than just the racing. But Antonelli first pole position, fantastic. Yeah, it was in like a sprint pole, but I don't think that discredits this. He's the youngest ever pole sitter for any type of qualification or race, so that's exciting. Surely he will beat Sebastian Vettel record. I believe Sebastian Vettel was like 21 in something days. Kimi Antonelli is 18 in something days. There's enough time for Kimi to get a real pole position. I'm confident he will. Even if we're just like looking at Oscar Piastri as an example, he did it within that time frame. So I'm confident that will happen. Oscar Piastri's already on his 3rd year. I'm realizing as I say that. Wow. And I guess he actually didn't get his first pole position until this year, but still, he has enough time, I believe. I'm not going to do the math on that. It's 9 p.m. as I'm recording this. I had 6 hours of racing today. I'm not doing the math on that. Piastri and Norris, 2nd and 3rd, as is expected. Leclerc and Hamilton, 6 and 7. We will speak about that. Albon P8. That's very good. Lowest of the weekend, but still good. And I want to get back to Antonelli because I kind of moved on from that when I had a thought. Like, it's a sprint race is a different thing than a Grand Prix. The distance is different. The pit stop it's different. Like you do sprint races in F2 and in F3. Like you know how to do sprint race. A Grand Prix is a very different thing. I don't think a sprint qualification is much different from a regular qualification. Like you're still just doing the fastest lap. And it's not like he had like a horrendously worse performance or exponentially worse performance on actual qualifying. When you think about it, this is the first time Antonelli's here, like for a pole position. Like I don't think we can discredit that. I don't know, I've seen people like dunking on it for only being a sprint pole, and I'm like, but is it really that much different than a real pole? I don't think so. Okay, not much else is like, well, Behrman P20 was something, but not much else here. I'm going to move on because I have a lot to say later on. Moving into the sprint race. So Norris wins. That'll make him feel good maybe, but that was like literally pure luck. What is with him and safety cars in Miami? Pure luck. And it's a safety car specifically because he didn't like luck out from the virtual safety car. It's a safety car thing. That's kind of interesting. I saw somebody say like, oh, you can't call Norris a lucky driver. He was, and then broke down how he was lucky. Yeah, dude, he was just lucky. Like, how else do you say that? They are like waiting maybe for a safety car, and as soon as they're like, okay, yes, you gotta pit it now, a safety car comes out and he gets a free pit stop. What? Like, pure luck. And that's the fact that he didn't even have to like finish the race. It's not like he had to do a restart because the race ended under the safety car, which was kind of boring. Knocked some points off it for that, but pure luck. Kimi Antonelli made that little mistake at the start. He'll learn from that. Not even like, yeah, I guess it was a mistake. He should have backed off. He should have like known that wasn't going to happen, and that cost him. Not as much as Verstappen's pit stop though. Like, surely Antonelli will learn from the incident with Oscar Piastri. He even said, he kind of said it snarkily, but he said something along the lines of like, yeah, okay, noted, understood, when he was told that Piastri didn't get any penalties for that. But okay, that Verstappen pit stop. What is with Red Bull and the pit stops? You know what? Because Red Bull were really good at the pit stops. I think them like fumbling their pit stops recently, and was it in Saudi or was it Bahrain? I can't remember right now, where they had the issue with the light not being correct. It was like they were safe to go, but the red light was still there on the pit stop, and now that they should not have gone. If you like forgot, Max Verstappen was leaving his pit stop in the sprint race and directly drove into Kimi Antonelli. And because Kimi Antonelli was in the pit stop ahead of him, he couldn't get into his pit box, so he got damaged. And then essentially had to do a drive-through. What? 10 seconds, like, well, it dropped Verstappen down to last, P17, no points. But, like, that's, like, oh. And again, like, I understand, like, you can't really give, like, a penalty based on the outcome. You have to just like set a standard and keep it, but like, wow. At least Antonelli still had points in P7. I don't think he finished in the points because there was quite a few penalties posed, right? Yeah, no, probably not, because there was like 3 people. He ended up P7, so he got points anyways. What, all of 3 points, but still something. Wow, actually egregious. Puncture for Sainz also left him DNFing. Unfortunate. He was racing, like the Williams were great this weekend. Alex Albon finished in the points and then dropped down to P11 because of a penalty. Same happened to Ollie Behrman and Liam Lawson, which was what caused the safety car. Liam Lawson and Fernando Alonso battling for what would have been 8th position in both of their first points of the season. Lawson did finish within the points, I believe, and then got knocked out because of that penalty. So, like, yeah, not good. And then Leclerc never even like making it to the grid. What was that? Aquaplaning? Like, okay, whatever. We'll talk about Ferrari. Okay, moving on to qualifying. Verstappen on pole was kind of surprising. I wasn't expecting that, given he was what? Double checking P4 before. I mean, I guess it's so close, like really what, it's just a matter of luck, kind of, just like putting it all together. Then, whatever. I guess you can see that being a father hasn't slowed him down. I mean, but he has a kid at home, like, will he go for the gap? Obviously, like, he did still go for the gap in the race, but less aggressively. Much less aggressive than he was racing last year. I don't know, like, watching Verstappen, this is like, we're getting into the race now, which I'm not meaning to do, but we're talking about it, so we're going to talk about it. Max Verstappen's, like, racecraft is kind of interesting to me. I do, like, he does, I'm not sure, like, he's still not used to, like, racing. I think he's getting better, but he's so used to just, like, be like, well, I'm here, so let me through. Like, it's been interesting to see him race, and he has been, like, less aggressive. So, well, it'll be interesting to see how that goes, and now that he has a dad, maybe he won't go for the gap. He has a kid at home. You know what I'm saying. Whatever. Piastri back down to 4th. Obviously, he recovered that well. Antonelli was in P3, Norris P2, but Antonelli was very close to Lando Norris. He was only a couple thousandths off. So that's what I'm saying. Like, just because it was a sprint pole doesn't mean he won't be able to do it again. Like, obviously he can do it again. He was not that far from doing it today. Max Verstappen just had a good lap. Sainz and Albon P6 and P7 is very good. And again, they pretty much maintained that. I mean, we'll talk about that, the nuances in the race, because something happened. But that's exciting to see that they had nice pace this weekend. Ocon is nice to see up in P9, but that is because, like, Hamilton, what even happened, P12? The pace in the Ferrari, oh my god, when I predicted that Charles would be the world champion this year, I was like, oh my gosh, the Ferrari are looking good, they're feeling confident. What happened? What happened? They seem to know what happened. Leclerc and Hamilton were both saying in their post-race interviews that they kind of know what the problem is with the car. But Charles was like, we know what the problem is. I don't know how long it will take us to fix it. It might be some time to fix it. Like, we know the problem. I don't think we know the solution. So again, we'll talk about that later. I'm a Ferrari fan, and I'm like becoming a neutral fan. Because I'm just like I was a Carlos. Well, I'm still kind of a Carlos fan. I still am a Carlos fan. He's now like not doing pretty well. I am a Ferrari fan, and I'm becoming just a neutral race enjoyer, because this is, like, painful is an understatement. What the hell? Okay, Isaac Hadjar P11, he's turning into Yuki Tsunoda. He also finished the race P11. What is it with, like, that car and being P11? Because, well, yes, not that car, because whatever. Liam Lawson technically has that car. But, like, the racing building being P11, so close, just not there. Which is kind of sucks to see, because Hadjar, like, it has had better results earlier this year, getting some decent points. I believe he'll be back up there. It was Ocon today. It'll be him next week, you know. Okay, moving on to the actual race. So Piastri wins for the third time in a row. Like, when you just think about that, like, last season, he had his first win, where the McLaren was 3 years ago, it's absurd. It's absurd. 2 years ago, I guess, really, 2.5 years ago with the McLaren. Like, Lando Norris should be scared. Like, you will see the championship later. Like, oh my god, who is this kid? That, like, and he was excited for, like, the first time. You never really seen him excited. Even Zach Brown was like, well, you know, like, this is the first race we felt like in control. There was, like, circumstances around a lot of the other races where it's like he said we weren't necessarily the fastest car. I don't think I agree with that. I think the McLaren has been the fastest car most of this season in most sessions, but I do agree that this was, like, the one where they had it the most under control. I mean, they finished 30 seconds ahead of George Russell. Even Piastri had Norris pretty under control. It was, by the time Norris finally overtook Verstappen, which we'll talk about in a second, there was an 8-second gap. By the end, it was closer to 3, but that was over, like, what, 30 laps? And even Zach Brown was like, they were free to race. He said, oh, maybe we're going to see the race everybody's been waiting for it, but obviously we didn't. Again, not because they weren't, like, saying you can't race. Norris just didn't have the pace, and even Piastri said he was struggling, so I think everything was just kind of slowly falling off towards the end there. But Piastri is just on something else, man. But it was nice to see him excited, because it's, like, rare that you actually see him pumped up, so that was nice to see. He had a good battle with Max Verstappen again. It's, like, interesting. Chris Medland was having some comments. Interesting to see Max Verstappen race, period. Interesting to see Oscar Piastri racing Max Verstappen, then in comparison to Lando Norris, who he has been racing against the rest of the season and the end of last season. Piastri, like, trusts the car more, which I do think is partially, like, well, he came in with a pretty junk car, didn't have it for too long before the car was good. Lando only now, how many years? 7 years into being in F1, is only now in the past year or two getting a good car. I guess that kind of can stay in your head. It's easier for Oscar to maybe just, like, trust the car and his own racecraft now more than Norris. I don't know, just, like, because of experience. But Chris Midland said it seems like Piastri has a better read on Max. He knows what he's going to do. He knows how to react, which is why it took him a second to get past him. But he didn't have too many, like, tries. He just waited and then finally did it. Lando had that go, was off the track, realized he probably wasn't going to be able to keep it, gave it back, and then overdid it again. And in that time, you know, Oscar Piastri pulled the 8-second gap. Like, I don't know if that's really a fair circumstance to really, like, diss Lando on his racecraft. I think it's just, like, I do get the point that Chris Midland was saying of, just take a second. You have the faster car, and just like do it right the first time and take more time to do it, which I think I agree with. But I don't know if it necessarily took like Lando that much longer to actually overtake Max. It took like Piastri a second, but again, once like he only did it once. Anyways, moving on. George Russell finishing in third, 30 seconds behind. Yeah, that car is on something. There's not water in the tires, but something is happening. I don't know. They've figured it out. Have they figured it out, or has everybody just got lost? Both, maybe? I don't know. He was really kind of like, we hardly saw George Russell this race because he was just like there, 30 seconds behind in third. Max Verstappen never really caught up to him. So it was a good race for him, all things considered. Probably a boring race for him, but solid. Max, was whatever. Nice to see him get overtaken twice by McLaren too. Again, whatever. Further evidence of Red Bull losing the plot that I forgot to mention, but it just now, the conclusion came out. So when they being Red Bull, said to Max, okay, just stay within 5 seconds of George Russell. What penalty do you think, literally what penalty do you think is coming? And then they protested. They said, oh, Russell failed to slow to yellow flags, under the safety car. So they looked into it and he didn't. And the stewards are like, no, actually it was fine. Desperation. You're saying, oh, he failed to slow. I understand that's what F1 is. Everybody's like, oh, look at them. FAA, punish them. I know, I understand that's how it works. But if you've got an issue, change your effing car. You know what I'm saying? I'm making a lot of internet jokes against Red Bull today. I have it printed out. Even them printing it out last week. Oh, I have it printed out. Red Bull. It's embarrassing. Whatever. Moving on. Fantastic from Alex Albon finishing P5. There was a situation where I believe, so Carlos was ahead, Alex Albon was behind, something along the lines of Alex was told, hold position, don't overtake, and then he did, and then he ran away with it. I trust him that he didn't hear that. I trust him that it was delayed, and by the time he did hear it, he had already done it. But it would have been interesting to see how the race played out had that listened, because it caused quite then subsequently Sainz had quite a battle with both of the Ferraris. Even almost got Hamilton again at the end there, didn't. But yeah, I don't know. It would have been interesting to see how that race went otherwise. Sainz, again, had a good race, did what he could. Probably was a little cathartic there for a second, winning over the Ferraris. Ultimately, he finished 9th and behind, but at some points, he'll take it. I mean, for the Williams to even be in the top 10, both of them in the top 10, James Vowles was jumping with joy. But to be fighting the Ferrari, because that's my one comment about Hamilton I have here before I have a whole section. I've added a section to talk about Ferrari because this is absurd. My comment about Lewis Hamilton is, why is he battling Esteban Ocon? There was a point where he was fighting Esteban Ocon, and I think that's ultimately what the issue at Ferrari is why is Lewis Hamilton battling Esteban Ocon? We'll talk about that. Jack Doohan having a puncture right after his contact with Lawson in the first lap on the first turn of this weekend of all weekends, when there's that what was it, a hot mic situation in Italian, where the guy, or in French, I don't know, where the guy was like, oh yeah, we'll talk about Doohan, he won't even be in the car, Colapinto will be in the car by Imola. And he out-qualifies Gasly and then gets a puncture immediately. And I don't even think it was his fault. I think, it was a racing incident, but, where did Lawson come from? Oh my God, God is against him or something. It was, the spirits are really working against him. He, this in Australia, oh my God. This kid's log. How, the fact that he's still here and, pushing and chugging along and showing up and not letting the pressure really get to him, because I don't think any of these situations, I think he has been, good. This situation, I'm not really going to blame him. Australia, no, you can't really blame him. I think he's, handling the pressure very well, all things considered. I really hope he keeps his seat. I'm not convinced Franco Colapinto would do better, would be doing better. And it is harsh to, Like, is Gasly doing that much better? Okay, I need to skip to the end. I need to see the points difference here. Driver standing. So Gasly has 7 points and Doohan has 0. Okay, fair, but to be fair, like the next. So Alonso, Lawson, Doohan, and Bortoleto don't have points. So all of the rookies, haha, bar Alonso. I'm not doing that joke. And then Hadjar is next with 5 points. Like, it's like once you get points, you get points. It seems like nobody, like, it's not like somebody has 1, 2, 3 points. Like, you get a decent chunk of points. Gasly only has 7. Like, Doohan could overcome that. I don't think Colapinto is like really gonna do much better. I don't know. Even Colapinto became crashy at the end. I wouldn't say Jack Doohan is crashy. I don't think you can't just like make decisions purely off of like who could get better results. You have to like factor in crashiness because that's money. That's money. You can't just like crash because it's not just no points. Then it's like time and money fixing the car. Whatever, I hope Doohan gets to keep his seat. Behrman and Bortoleto had engine failures. What was with the Ferrari engine? Like, is that maybe the issue? Could that be part of the issue? I don't know. It's just kind of strange that it was 2 Ferraris that just engine done. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I'm not an engineer. I couldn't pretend to understand what the problem is with the Ferrari car. I don't know shit. But that's just interesting to me. Okay, moving on to my driver of the day. I had put this before I like really understood the situation that happened with Williams. I'm keeping it because I trust that he did not hear Alex Albon. Again, like I just like he kept his P5. He actually like moved out. You gotta give him driver of the day because like there's you could always say okay like there's been like the freak person qualifying well, they usually fall back. Think of even like Kevin Magnussen and like Interlagos a couple years ago. That was a sprint race. He fell back immediately. Not that he like started first. Obviously he didn't. But a lot of times people start well, they qualify well, and then they fall behind. Like the odd Haas, the odd Sauber doesn't really have the odd Alpine will qualify well and fall back. He didn't fall back. And it takes something to be able to fight. Like you have to keep a certain composure to stay up there and be fighting with them when that's something you're not used to. When you're used to being in the back 10 and all of a sudden you're fighting with the front 5, to be able to do that mentally, I gotta give him his flowers. I've got to cheer him on for that. And he even got points in the sprint before he got that penalty. So, driver of the day, my best driver of the weekend, Alex Albon. Okay, this is the new section I've added for this weekend, Ferrari flop. Ooh. Just a horrendous weekend with like Leclerc not even making it to the grid. And I want to say like when their weekends are bad, when their weekends are bad this year, they've been horrendous. That double disqualification. This Charles didn't make it to the grid in the sprint. Lewis qualified 12th for the race, didn't make it into Q1. That's not even talking about the Grand Prix. Sure, Lewis got 3rd in the sprint. How he did that, I'm not sure. Like, because he was like excited. He seemed excited that the car had pace, and then this happens. I don't understand. I'm actually not understanding what the problem is. Because, I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, even in like past weekends, it's been like, okay, qualifying is an issue, but we have decent enough race pace. Is that true? Do they have decent enough race pace? I don't think they do. I don't think they've really been able to like challenge. Again, is it the engine? I don't know. I don't think that's true because there's not been room for the engine to change. The engine's been pretty locked in for a couple years now. But it's causing a real issue that I'm hoping they'll be able to overcome within Lewis and Charles, because those radio messages from Lewis Hamilton were just like insane. I've never heard a driver like that on the radio. Like even like Carlos and Charles had their moments, never like this, and it's only been 6 races. I'm getting like concerned. We all knew going into this that like managing both Charles and Lewis, who are there to win a championship, was gonna be difficult, especially when it kind of like Lewis has a hard timeline. This is like different than the McLarens where they're both young, they'll both be here for a while. I think Lando probably has loyalty. Oscar, I don't know, we'll see. It's like, and Charles has hard loyalty. Obviously, Lewis is here to finish his career. Like, we knew it was going to be a problem, but I think we only really anticipated it would be a problem if the car was fast. Like if it was to the point where we're deciding, like we kind of got to prioritize who's going to win in the championship. I think that's kind of where we all thought it would be a problem. In the same way we were like anticipating that to be a problem for McLaren. And to be honest, it hasn't been a huge problem at McLaren yet. Like again, like Zach was hinting at, like I think we might get there. We probably will get there. But I mean, it helps that like Oscar is winning these races by his own merit. It's not like a team strategy decision by any means. But I wasn't expecting it to be a problem if they were fighting for 6th and 7th like they are. It's almost like the bad cars tearing Ferrari apart and the good cars keeping McLaren together. But like ultimately that is what the problem is. The car's just bad and they're frustrated with the car. Even Lewis said that. Like ultimately that's where the frustration lies, because again, they're both here to win a championship. Lewis has signed for 2 years. I was questioning today, like, will he do 2026? I think he will, because of course it's new regs. Everybody's going to want to try that out. But like, that's got to be upsetting for Lewis, and that's why his radios were so bad. I mean, like, I don't have the quotes exactly, but him saying, like, this is bad teamwork, sorry. I did it in China, I swapped with him. Like, you might as well have a tea break while you're thinking about it. Oh. He was upset. He said, go have a tea break, knowing you guys. Ooh. That's not good. And then so that was him asking to overtake Charles. And then once he was finally granted permission, and he did not go much faster, which is embarrassing. He was kind of asked about that, and he said, like by the time I did get to overtake, it was like my advantage was gone, which was like, okay. I don't really know, that like that's kind of strange. Maybe it's like the Ferrari just bad on their tires, because the mediums are doing well for others, and Lewis was on the mediums, which is partially why Lewis was on the mediums, and Charles was on the hards, which is especially why it's like, okay, like literally let him through. But when it didn't work out, you're like, and him blaming like, oh, I lost the advantage. I don't know if that's true. Or if it is, that's like a really bad look of the Ferrari car, because why are you eating the tires like that? I mean, the Ferraris are known for eating their tires for breakfast, but like what the hell? And then once he was told to give it back, because then Charles got mad, which I kind of don't blame him, because why are you being sassy at me? Because you think you can go faster, and then I let you through and you can't go faster? I'm going to be sassy to you. And so when he let him through, and then Lewis was told that gap test signs behind him, he said, oh, what, you want to let him through as well? Oh, I don't have a conclusion on this. Again, like I do think it is ultimately an issue with the car, but that is a problem. That is a problem, especially because they seemed very confident coming in. I was not gonna predict Charles winning the championship because I thought that would jinx him, but they seemed so confident that the car was good, and it's just not. I think they're honestly probably better off like abandoning this and switching to next year, but that causes a bigger problem itself, because like I had been predicting, okay, they'll give Charles the championship this year, and then they'll let Lewis try next year, give him a year to warm up, and of course this is like obviously wishful thinking, but when like you have signed for 1 year, and then again like you don't know, I mean, I guess if the car is like dominant next year, that'll be a good sign for Charles, because again, it's like the Red Bull was dominant for so long, it's hard for other people to catch up, especially at the start of the regulations. Like if you get it right, that's a huge advantage for like a year at least. So maybe then that'll feel like Charles will be okay backing it up, but I don't think, I don't know. I don't know if Charles is really going to be able to take a step back, and then we have a problem. I mean, at that point, it doesn't matter, because if you just let them battle it out, and Lewis will dip out as soon as he's ready, either he's won a championship, or like this relationship has soured and he's not having fun anymore and he's going to dip out. But even that is like, will he? I think it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It's so hard, because there is sort of a time limit on Lewis, that it just complicates everything, because it's not like a McLaren where you can like kind of wait it out. But even then, the McLaren can't wait it out, because they have the good car now. There's no guarantee they're going to have a good car next year. I don't know. It's so interesting. The time limit on both ends of these regulations and Lewis's age really makes things interesting. We'll just have to see how it goes. I mean, I can keep babbling about this forever. Let's move on. there's a problem. I hope they fix the car. The upgrades will come at LA, but Charles didn't seem too confident in those, to be honest. He says, yeah, we know what the problem is. We don't necessarily know what the solution is, so we'll see. Moving on to driver standings, not much change. Piastri has extended his lead 131 to 115, so 16-point lead. Still no points for all the rookies plus Alonso. Well, not all the rookies, for Lawson, and Bortoleto, and Alonso. And Russell and Verstappen are pretty close. Only 6-7 points difference there. I think that could flip. I do. I don't know. Verstappen being a dad, maybe he'll slow down. I don't think that's true. The Verstappen thing is also interesting, like, because it's like, yeah, well, now that he does have his kid in the car, is not good. But again, I think everybody's going to give 2026 a try. Okay, moving on to team standings. Again, very little change. McLaren is crazy. 246 to Mercedes 141. Over 100 points difference already, and it's only been 6 races. Zach Brown was talking about, oh, well, you know, like, we came here last year, and this is only the start of our thing. And the Red Bull was winning, and then they finished in 3rd. You know, we're winning right now, but who knows, we could finish in 3rd. 100 points. Dude. And both of your drivers are working. Because there was only really one working driver. Like, not to take Sergio Perez, but there's really only one functioning point-scoring driver last year, and it was Max Verstappen. Like, the McLaren, like, don't want to be cocky for some reason. Like, just admit you have the best car, and you've had the best car for the season so far. Like, chill out. Okay, Ferrari could move up. After I just said all that. Yeah, they're only 94 points. They're the worst of the top. Williams are the best of the rest with like 94 points for the Ferrari, 37 for the Williams. And like Red Bull is at 105, so only like 11 points. Like there's potential that they could move up, especially if they kind of figure something. I mean, but like Yuki's going to speed up. Like Yuki will get more points. I don't know. That's wishful thinking on my part. And yeah, Williams best of the rest with 37 to Haas's 20. Sauber has 6 points. Alpine has 7 points. Racing Bulls has 8 points. That was closer than I thought, actually, because the Racing Bulls is like just much better in my view. But even like Aston Martin is ahead of them with 14 points, so 14 to 8. How did the Aston Martin get points? That's all Lance Stroll. Huh? I didn't realize that. Damn. My Jewish Canadian, what can I say? I told you guys last week you'll never make me hate him as much as I think maybe it's time to pack it up. Well, but how can you say it's time for him to pack it up when he's the one who's got points? That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching this video and my race rambling. Apologies that there hasn't been, I've been teasing that I'm going to start doing pre-race rambles, which it's still my goal, but I kind of forgot that while I'm adjusting to my job. So there's that. And I also forgot that my whole house is about to be renovated. 6 days out of the week, the only day it won't be is Sunday, which is the day I record these. So I don't know if I'll be able to without hearing all that banging. So we'll see. If not, I'll do it this year. This season, you will get pre-race ramblings. I really am working to like ramp up the amount of videos I do, but I'm in an adjustment period, okay? Just finished school, starting a new job. My whole house is going to be renovated, okay? Give me a second. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching this and or listening. If you're listening to this and you'd like to watch it, it's available on YouTube. If you watch this and you'd like to listen to it, it's on all podcasting platforms. Please give this a like, follow, subscribe, comment, rate, all of the things, and I will see you for the Grand. How do you say that? Even the people on F1 were like, how do you say that? I'll see you for Imola if you're here for F1. Barring any news that comes before that, maybe there will be some Alpine news coming before that. I don't know. Or if you like IndyCar, I'm about to record my IndyCar race rambling now, so you can watch that tomorrow. I will see you all whenever you see me next. Thank you again. Bye.